My name is Michael, and I'm with the Open Road Ministry. This topic I want to discuss with you, it affects us all. It's on how our behavior, our personal behaviors, and societal behaviors are modified. And as a therapist, I've seen how this reward and punishment or operant conditioning can change behavior. Operant conditioning is the method of modifying behavior through reward and punishment, and we see it in a healthy society as positive reinforcement that encourages civic participation, when negative reinforcement which deters harmful behaviors. And this is our judicial system, law and order. However, if you take that and you put it in the hands of authoritarian figures who are unchecked, this becomes a tool for control. That's where we are at this moment. See, you've got rewarding obedience, and you can do so by favorable media coverage, financial incentives, government benefits for those who support the regime, or you can punish dissent through censorship, which we're seeing now, imprisonment we're seeing now, public humiliation, all the name calling, we're seeing that now, and the loss of livelihood for the people who oppose that government, that system, and we're seeing that now. In my life, I've worn many hats, and as a disabled veteran, a geopolitical analyst, a therapist, and a photojournalist, I have seen how these principles are used on a larger scale, often by people in power to control populations. There was a gentleman called B.F. Skinner. He's the father of operant conditioning, and he showed us that behavior is shaped by consequences. Again, reward encourages repetition of desired behaviors, and punishment, again, discourages it. But when these principles are applied to society by authoritarian leaders, they use these tools, reward and punishment, to control the press, to control the courts, even relationships with other countries like now Colombia, Panama, Mexico, Canada, Germany, France, Denmark, while cozying up to and making friends with Saudi Arabia, China, Russia, North Korea. We have examples in history over and over and over again. Mussolini controlled the press to shape his opinion. He would put out the same lie over and over and over again, a grand lie over and over and over again, until the individuals started to believe it. Adolf Hitler used propaganda and fear to punish dissent, and his propaganda was the same. He would say a lie. The more outrageous the lie, the more repetitive the lie, more likely the people are going to believe it. And under Stalin, Stalin had a very unusual, he rewarded citizens of the state that, praise the government by giving them special privileges. And back then it was nicer homes and more food. And while those who spoke out, they were exiled to work camps, or they were killed, executed. Modern China, they've got a very interesting social score, a social credit system that punishes those who act against the state interest while rewarding compliant citizens. The citizens are also rewarded with a higher score if they provide information on their neighbors. Which, let's talk about the Taliban a little bit. Afghanistan and other Taliban-controlled areas. Taliban controls its people through fear and force. They will kill anybody who is different, non-conforming, outspoken, or who they deem as being a threat to their control. And they come out in force. Now, under the Trump administration, we are seeing attacks on the press, discrediting mainstream media as fake news, while promoting state-friendly outlets. And I'm not going to mention any of those. You have judicial manipulation, where they're appointing judges that are loyal to specific political agendas and start to undermine the checks and balances. Social division and fear tactics. You start spreading fear tactics, so you're going to have civil war, social division, go against the brown people, go against the gay people, go against these people, go against those people. The liberals are enemies of the state, the press are enemies of the state, the trans are enemies of the state. You've divided the people, you splintered them into micro groups. That's where we're at now. And then you pardon your loyalist. I mean, you've got what was his name? The Stonemeister and Michael Flynn. By giving them pardons, it rewards violence. It reinforces loyalty. Look what they did with Jan 6th. And then you're punishing opposition. Officials who defy the administration are facing demotions, firings, and public ridicule. We know that, Mr. TV star, the only thing he likes to say is, "You're fired, you're fired, you're fired." The new administration's approach to bypassing traditional political pathways, whether it's in domestic policy or international relationships, raises red flags. It makes every hair on my back stand up. And then threats of war against our allies, the erosion of diplomatic norms, and the use of fear to justify extreme measures. They're all the hallmarks of authoritarianism. We are seeing this leader of ours, number 47, use abhorrent conditioning on a social level, on a global level, rewarding loyalty, punishing dissent, and slowly reshaping behaviors by instilling fear and giving false promises. He hasn't told a single truth. He doesn't know. There's a psychological issue with it. It's embarrassing. We've got to protect ourselves, and we have to do this by staying informed. And in order to stay informed, we need to diversify our news sources to avoid manipulation. We need to be very careful of manipulated press, misdirection within the press, and diversion in the press, and just plain out lies and deceit. We need to engage in civil disobedience. When these unjust policies arise, we need to have peaceful resistance. We need to strengthen at the same time our community bonds, because authoritarianism, it thrives on division. We talked about how they've splintered our groups into immigrants, gays, trans, any liberals, blah, 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 anyone who doesn't agree with their little agenda. We need to demand accountability, continue through our civil disobedience, holding our leaders accountable. We do so through protest, through voting, if we ever have this right again, and through other legal channels. We do have friends in the judiciary. So, and then we need to teach critical thinking skills, encourage individuals to question, to fact check, and to engage in intellectual discourse. Very, very important. And we must remember that this change starts with us. That's why we're having this conversation today. Every small act of resistance, whether it's a protest, a conversation, or a vote, is just one step closer to a healthier society. And now, we're going to put on my little collar here and get a little more peaceful. There are two traditions that have guided me in my life, providing me wisdom, as the Bible and Buddhism. Proverbs 31, verses 8 through 9. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly, defend the rights of the poor and the needy. This is a call to resist. This is a call to resist oppression and reward justice. Now, on the other side of the spectrum is Buddha, where Buddhism teaches us the concept of right action. And this is a reminder to us to act in the ways that reduce harm and promote well-being. The Dalai Lama once said that if you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. So even small acts of resistance can cripple authoritarianism. It can create ripples of change. And my friends, we're at the crossroads as the principles of abhorrent conditioning, they're being used to negatively reshape our society. We have the power to reshape our country and the thoughts by rewarding courage while punishing this injustice. I mean, we can support independent journalism, we can defend judicial independence, we can promote democratic values through education and activism, we can reject fear-based political narratives, we can stand up for minorities and marginalized communities. See, the minorities and marginalized communities, they are often the first targets of such authoritarian regimes. Now, remember, as citizens, to my fellow therapists, to my fellow artists, to my fellow veterans, we have a duty to protect our values, those values that we hold dear. And by recognizing abhorrent conditioning in political tactics that are being used today, we can resist the manipulation and defend our freedoms from this authoritarianism. Our call to action is clear, I think. We have to be vigilant, be engaged, and uphold the moral and democratic principles that ensure a just society. How simple is that? Together we can sit here and break the cycle of control and pave the way for a future that is rooted in truth and justice and human dignity. We all deserve that. Everyone. Well, I am Reverend Michael, and this is The Open Road. Thank you for taking time and listening to this conversation. And hopefully it'll strike a chord.